Well, they did it. West Virginia did it. Saturday, knocked off rival Virginia Tech. Final score 27-21. There were good moments. There were plenty of bad moments. I'm Jared Sari, and along with Keenan Cummings, welcome to Musings from the Mountains. We're here to break it down for you. Keenan, a lot to take away. Why don't you kick us off? What did you see? What did you like from WVU? And go ahead, run with it.
Well, first of all, I want to say my prediction was awfully close. I think I said, 27-24? West Virginia win. I guess I got to give myself a little humble brag there, pat myself on the back. But I think West Virginia answered some questions in some areas, left some questions in some others. But at the end of the day, Jared, before we really dive into this game, people are going to, you have kind of two groups of people right now, even looking on the blue lot, the WVSports.com message board. You have two groups of people. One that's elated with this victory. It doesn't matter how it happened. It didn't matter what happened. West Virginia won the game. Some that maybe the way it finished kind of put a sour taste in their mouth. But really, it's not how you win a game. It's winning the game. And West Virginia was able to do that against a Virginia Tech team that I know I even said it earlier this week, probably was overrated. But they were ranked 15th in the country. Neil Brown has a signature win, and I think that's important. We came into this week, we being collectively, you came into this week looking at this thing that, this was a big game for Neil Brown. Not only a big game for Neil Brown in the sense that, you have the number 15 team in the nation coming into your house, for the first time since 2005, but you have a chance to really kind of, I don't want to say right the wrongs of what happened at Maryland, but change the perception of what happened at Maryland. I think that there's not very many opportunities you get on a schedule to do that. And West Virginia's done that. They found a way to beat Virginia Tech. And I think if you would objectively ask West Virginia fans, gun to their head, at the starting of the year, you can only win one of these non-conference games. Which one would you pick? I think it would be overwhelmingly Virginia Tech. And they took care of business. Looking at the game, what do you think? Just off the cuff, Jared, what stood out to you for West Virginia on the positive side of things?
Yeah, this was a huge game in a variety of aspects. Obviously, this is Neil Brown's first signature win at West Virginia. You can't ignore that. But getting into more details, something that I really enjoyed seeing today, the defense looked at times the best it's been all season, especially in the red zone. The stat that you threw at me when we were waiting to talk to Neil Brown after the game was, Virginia Tech 4 times in the red zone, only came away with points once. That is huge in a game like this, where if they had scored at any other one of those times, West Virginia would be 1-2. So I thought that was really interesting. And going into that, Jared Bartlett, backup Bandit linebacker, saw some playing time today, tallied 3 sacks in the game. That's incredible, including a forced fumble of Braxton Burmeister late in the fourth quarter. I was really impressed with the defense. Let's just hope they can keep that going into Big 12. What are your thoughts on the defense, Keenan?
Yeah, first time since 2019 a player's had 3 sacks. You guys might remember a guy named Darius Stills and the field day he had against Baylor, that night in Waco. But I think overall, the defense played pretty well. I don't like this, and I think people have a tendency to do this, put all the success on one side of the ball and blame the other one. I think this was a team win, although it might not seem like it. It was a team win. There were times that West Virginia's defense didn't look very good. They missed a lot of tackles in this game. I think when we talked to Jordan Leslie Tuesday, that's going to be what he talks about. West Virginia had how many times, Jared, in that game did I look over at you in the press box and say, man, there's another missed tackle. That extended a drive. Look at that 3rd and 24, for example. There were 3 or 4 guys that had Burmeister boxed in and nobody could make a play. That was far from the only time that happened. But, when you needed to make a play, when you absolutely had to make a play, West Virginia did. And I thought it was really interesting when Neil Brown was talking after the game, how the play that Virginia Tech went to on the 4th down, the penultimate play of the game, really, it was a play that they practiced a lot. They do a 2-point drill a lot. They call it the Steeler drill, I believe, because Steelers are known for running a lot of 2-point plays. And the defense recognized that and were able to cover that up. Jackie Matthews tipped that pass to the ground. And with that, a big sigh of relief from 60,022, actually, the biggest crowd since Neil Brown's opener against James Madison. That were absolutely incredible today. I think that gets lost sometimes. We're talking about the game. We're talking about what happened on the field. That was a big-time college football atmosphere today. I don't think there's any argument about that. I think it speaks to why games like this should be more regularly played. The fans were in it. There was just a different feeling, even for me, just walking through the tailgating scene to the press box. It was a completely different feel. It was an electric atmosphere. The fans were into it. Outside of that little lull in the third quarter, the fans were really into this game, and I think it made it a special environment. But yeah, the defense took care of business. Tell the two halves for the offense. I think that's very fair. The West Virginia offense jumped out like gangbusters in the first two possessions of the game, scored rather easily against Virginia Tech defense that, regardless of the problems that North Carolina has on their offensive line and skill positions, has a quarterback that's going to be picked in the first round of the NFL draft. And he managed to put up 10 points. West Virginia had 14 in the first two drives of the game. I know you can't play the transitive property in football, but I do think it speaks to how prepared they were at the start. West Virginia had 24 points at half. Of course, then it all went downhill. You had that beautiful drive in the third quarter that you had to stall and kick a field goal. But other than that, you ate up a lot of clock. And then after that, man, the last four drives of the game, West Virginia, obviously they're trying to shorten the game. They're trying to run the football. Tech understands that. But you managed 33 yards on 4 drives. 29 of those came on one drive. Without that Mike O'Loughlin holding penalty, it's probably not going to be talked about a lot, but without that, maybe we're not even talking about this thing being that close, because that was the one time West Virginia mustered some juice on offense. But after that, you could just feel it. We were at field level, Jared, for the end of the game, and you could just feel the momentum had completely shifted in Tech's favor, and that happens in football. It's kind of fitting, though. I just tweeted this a little bit ago. It's kind of fitting that West Virginia finds a way to beat a ranked Virginia Tech team with multiple goal line stands. Grant Wiley and Brian King would be proud of that one. Harkening back to the 2002 game over in Blacksburg. So overall, though, I think that when you look at this game, West Virginia did what it needed to do. They're 2-1. They haven't erased what happened in Maryland. They haven't erased their problems. And we'll get into some of those problems here. But overall, I don't think there's very many people that can be too upset about winning the Black Diamond Trophy for the first time in over 6,000 days. That speaks a lot to really Neil Brown needed to win this game, and we didn't dance around the subject. He needed to find a way to win this game, because for as long as you want to talk about trust the climb, and exercise and trust only goes so far. At some point, you have to be able to prove it. And while you can see things coming together for this program with recruiting, with the players they're bringing in, with the direction of the program, this is a results-based industry, Jared. And you had to find a way to win a game like this. So it's really big for the program.
Speaking of results-based, I feel as if the two quarterback system that we saw Neil Brown go to every once in a while, Jarrett Doege's the starter. Garrett Green comes in trying to change a pace, relies on his feet a little bit. I thought that had some good results for West Virginia. I wrote a little bit about it in my I Got 5 on It column, which will be coming out on Sunday. But I think that was a very wise decision to acknowledge, hey, Jarrett Doege has these strengths. Garrett Green has these strengths. We can find a way to put them together and move this offense forward. I think that's something we saw today, and that's something I hope we see moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jared. I think the thing that's interesting is if he trusts Garrett Green in this situation with what he knows now, imagine where this package could be 6-7 weeks from now. Right now it's pretty basic. He's running the football most times he's in the game. What kind of wrinkle does that throw when he starts throwing the ball? A lot of people don't realize he's not just a running quarterback. He can throw the ball pretty well. It's about understanding his progressions, developing in that sense. I know people get so frustrated to hear he's not ready yet. He's not ready yet. I get that. It's frustrating, if you're a fan, but you say that for a reason. And I mean, I think when you watch him play, you can see he's kind of a one read type guy right now, and he takes off. You can't do that against high level defensive competition, especially in the scheme they run. I think as you continue to develop him, though, even if he does what he does right now, it's so effective because it just gives another wrinkle for the defense to prepare for. And I like it. I asked Neil Brown after the game, how's that going to continue to go? The synergy between the guys, get them in a rhythm. And he said it, there's a process to it. You got to be able to develop that and kind of cultivate that over time. And I think that's going to be a big part of this offense. I don't think you're going to see Jarrett Doege phased out. I mean, I know everybody's all on him for the interception, and it was an awful throw. He'd be the first person to tell you that. In that situation, credit to Tech, they kind of knew what was coming, played up on it, but you cannot float that football. You got to throw that football on the ground. Even if it stops the clock, you got to throw that football on the ground. And he didn't. I know these things happen in snap seconds. It's easy to sit here and judge after the fact. We're obviously not Division I college athletes or coaches for that matter. But, we all like to fancy that we know a little bit about the game. And that's something that, you can't do. And that's going to overshadow, though, some really good plays out of Doege today, I believe. I mean, that third down and 10, where we're speaking of, the chemistry between the two, he had to come off cold. He had not played the first two plays of that series. He come off and ripped a 30-yard throw to Sam James that might have been the best throw I've seen him make since the one he threw to Isaiah Isdale at TCU. I mean, across the field, it was a really nice throw. He connected on James 2 plays later for a touchdown. So he did some nice things today. It wasn't all bad. It really was not. But I know the way these things are judged in the eyes of fans sometimes, in the eyes of even media sometimes, is you're only as good as your last play. And that last one certainly wasn't good. I think we'd be remiss, Jared, if we're talking about this game. How about the offensive line, man? For as much as they got beat up, for as much as they got beat up against Long Island, and they did, Neil Brown said they really didn't scheme for it, which does explain a lot. I mentioned last week that I thought they ran the ball pretty well against Maryland. They were great today. I mean, even if you take out the 80-yard touchdown run, which is a fantastic design, by the way. I was talking about how they came out kind of guns blazing. That was a great play. You get a light box, and Lady Brown does the rest, motioning some guys out and everything. But the offensive line got pushed today. They opened holes. Sans the last 4 drives of the game when Tech was crashing, basically trying to prevent them from running the football. They cleared some lanes today, which we haven't seen really in probably since at any point last year.
Yeah, this offensive line much improved today, especially, important. We can't forget about Doug Nestor, the former Hokie, who first guy to get a hold on that Black Diamond trophy today. This game in itself was a very, the rivalry itself was one thing. But all things considered, this was a very exciting game to watch from West Virginia. And moving forward, I don't want to say I have high expectations, but they definitely raised the bar. And I feel like this definitely gave us the best look that we could have to this point of what to expect week in and week out from this West Virginia team. Now, obviously, moving forward, we will have a Oklahoma preview episode coming later this week. But Keenan, what is like the one thing maybe that you're looking forward to going through this week, this pre-Oklahoma week and heading into the game?
It's really a completely different feel than it was this week. I say they had to win this game. Obviously, they weren't going to shut down the program if they did, and it would have caused some confidence issues, I think, with the fan base probably more than the players. This week is kind of the exact opposite. I hate to say you're playing with house money, but you're going on the road, number 3 Oklahoma, who has not played well against FBS opponents this season. And, you don't really have a lot to lose. West Virginia's not going to be favored in that game. You never know what could happen. I mean, obviously, Oklahoma usually trips up once a year against somebody they probably shouldn't lose to. Why can't it be West Virginia? And no, I'm not sitting here predicting a West Virginia win. I'm not that ridiculous at all. But I think you got to go out and play good football. The thing I need to see out of this West Virginia team that we've yet to see at any point this year, I'm not going to count Long Island because I think, the media probably could have filtered a team that would have at least maybe scored a touchdown on them. But I think that you got to play a complete game, and this team's yet to show me it can do that, on either side of the ball. They look good for stretches at times, and then they look really bad all within the same game, sometimes within the same quarter. If you go back to the Maryland game, you got to see some consistency. This is a great win for West Virginia. That goes without saying, but finding a way to parlay that into more is now what you have to do. This can't be the defining moment of your season. It can't be, because West Virginia has high expectations this year, relatively speaking. You won 6 games last year. You got to try to find a way to elevate that this year. That was the goal coming in. That's what Neil Brown talked about all offseason. And now you have a chance to prove it. You don't make up for what you did against Maryland, but you're 2-1 now. You're going to get probably your hardest game of the year out of the way here early, and then you've got 8 more games to try to crack and see if you can win some. So I'm interested to see how this team continues to develop, continues to evolve, and if we ever see a complete product this year. I feel like it's close at times, but then other times you're kind of wondering, what the hell just happened?
Again, West Virginia wins 27-21 over rival and number 15 Virginia Tech. For Keenan Cummings, I'm Jared Sari. Again, thank you for listening to Musings from the Mountains. Don't forget to check out westvirginia.rivals.com for all your West Virginia Mountaineers coverage. We'll be back with you later on this week to preview the Oklahoma game. But until then, talk to you later.